It's like my butt's a wheel, a tire. As it digs into the ground, I row forward. Yeah? You can imagine that there's a axle up here and there's a drive force and it's driving the wheel, right? Yeah. So I have to tune in. I go, oh, wait. I have to do the same thing. Where am I? How am I going to enter into this process? Where am I in relationship to the connection I'm making to provide the support I want to make? Okay, I'm a little happier now. And I can notice that as soon as I did that, my own breath became a little bit more global. And as soon as that I'm in that sensorial experience, I just notice this. It's almost like a calming just drains through me. Yeah? And when I do that, people change. It's remarkable. The kind of change that you'll see in any moment. It's just, so we've been playing with turning everything on, connecting everything, making little movements right and left, lifting, circling, sinking. Yeah. And now we're going to change. And there's a reason why I continue to, for me, I like to be efficient in the sense that my hands are here and then I can keep my hand underneath. And now we start to look at, is it my foot that's created, my hand that's created this shape? As I lift him, what does this foot do? Yeah? Okay, so we clearly have this. Now, I'm interested in creating a force that's going to go through him. And I have to begin to understand, here I am from the center of myself. Bring the skeleton over for just a moment so you can see this. Just bring the skeleton over, just for a moment. Someone can hold it and we can look at it. It's very useful to have these images, these skeletal images. Yeah. Now, this is good enough. We can just hold it here. If you can imagine now, if we put the leg here, the highest point of the leg coming in is right underneath the line of the sacrum. The force coming in is going to come through the bone and into such a way that we're looking for the force to come into the wings of the sacrum in such a way that the force transfers to the central column. Yeah? We're looking for the clarity by which I can make a movement from here into, yeah? And that means that I have to be very specific with myself. If I was to take this hand and to turn this and go in the shape that he is, and again, there are many ways to teach this, and you'll see people have preferences, but now, how is that force going to go there? Yeah? And we'll see people that'll prefer to work here, and their preference is to work here. Yeah? Again, as you work, how will you continue to decide and clarify for yourself the clearest way to create force through the skeleton? Yeah? In other words, for me, here I have the potential. Here's the center of myself. It's coming into my own sacrum, my own relationship to the inner edges of my feet in the way that I'm lifting up and through myself provides me with the basis from which this force can be directed through. If I'm like that, if I'm not clear on my sit bones, then the force is going to go some other way, yeah? So now I have this connection, and you see, again, this connection for me means lifting up and through. Now, how am I going to organize myself? I have these two channels coming through here, coming through there, coming through. Yeah, I want this force from me to go there. Yeah? Okay. Over the years, especially relative to this whole notion that we have had, I've played with all the different ways that I can find how to place my hands in such a way that I have the clearest relationship. Yeah. So that more or less you can see that this hand isn't broken. It's not broken. I didn't go like this. I didn't go like this, grab his foot and lift, and now look at my hand. Yeah. If you were going to create force, where would your hands be, your wrists be, your fingers be, relative to the direction of the movement you're going to go? Yeah. So it's again, these questions have plagued me over the years. Yeah. Because at first I would pick up someone and I would push and I would push and I'd push and yeah. So now I have to make a choice. I have to be able to distinguish between where's the inside and where's the outside. If I make the movement from the inside, you watch. Where does the force go? Yeah. It's very difficult if I do that for that force, if I have that force for me to go there accurately. Okay? So then I have to make a decision, and this is the fastest gun in the West. Yeah. You'll remember this. If I give you enough of an image, you'll go, oh, what was that? You wouldn't shoot the gun like that, or like that. Yeah. So out of your holster. Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. You have to have the noise. And so it's a question of how will I rotate my hand so I'm not broken. I rotate my hand to fit underneath, and I can marry my hands together so that more or less the shape of this, my two hands together, can work together out of the center of myself. Okay, more or less. So when you go back and you start to practice this, you can see how might you have thought of that in the first, and what might you have done habitually, and then again, each one of these, you keep exploring and finding for yourself, does it make sense? Is it worth it? It's always inconvenient to change. It doesn't feel right. Yeah. Okay, so I can take a look, and then I can look, how will I organize myself so that I can place my hands? Yeah. Now, how much movement do I mean to make before I'm connected into his hip joint? I can tell you what the standard world is, oh, you moved. Yeah. How much movement do I need to make? How much force does it take me to move this into the joint? That far. Yeah. Now, I can just inhale, and inhale in such a way that I expand the circumference inside my belt. And look what happened. Did my hands move forward? And as I exhale, what happened? Right. So it's hard for us to imagine, but I'm going to only begin this practice with expanding into my belt. Yeah. And it's very funny because we remember we're dealing here in such a way that we have an even tone. I'm not in just my arms. I'm in this even tone, my legs, myself, and I expand. And if I want to go into him without changing the tone of my arms, that tire that's under my butt, if I simply have my butt like a tire move forward a little bit, now I have my entire torso weight moving forward into him. Yeah? But there's no sense that he has of me pushing on him. I'm literally merging his skeleton, and I'm imagining that this is the force from the ground through him. Okay? Is that a lot, or it's okay? That would be a good place to start to practice? Okay. Yep. Yeah, because if I stayed with this foot, then I would be now. So I want to go into a few more details with this, okay? But I'm going to use the skeleton to do that. But by the way, you stand up and notice the difference between your right leg and left leg. Okay, it's fine. All right. So the shape of this again is when we look. This is part of the reason why we started to look at this. So we have this, the cuboid turns up and under the cuneiforms. It has an element that turns up and under the navicular. It has an element that turns up and under the talus. It has an element underneath that turns up and locks into the heel. Yeah. So, and it really is. And I would have taught the lesson a little bit differently to lift the inner edge of your foot had we had this knowledge. But as you're standing there, instead of lifting the inner edge of your foot, find out what you would do to turn the cuboid up and under your middle arch. That's a funny kind of a notion. How would you go about lifting the underlying keystone up into the middle arch? Doesn't that lift the inner arch? Yeah. So when I'm working here, I'm not lifting the inner edge of my foot. I'm literally turning the cuboid up and under. Okay, so now when I'm touching here, I'm not touching on the heel, and my thumb is simply a space holder. There's no pressure on my thumb. I'm still utilizing this connection with the bones. So when I lift it, I'm lifting the tibia, I'm lifting the fibula, my hands are coming, and I'm doing wherever I can. It's not the length of my hands, it's not the size of my hands, it's where I have the contact. And everybody has the point where you can sense the contact. Everybody will be able to find that their index finger will be able to find the lower part of the fibula. Now, people have big feet and heavy feet and all kinds of things, so it won't be so clear for some. But for the most part, my two hands are just going to marry. Yeah? And my thumb is going to be a space holder. But in my imagination, I am not on the front of his leg, I'm not behind his leg, but when I start this movement, it's like if I could, I would be the laser beam. And when we watch really carefully, I'll add this to the thing from yesterday. If you look at the sustentaculum talus, it's this peninsula bone off the heel. The heel is offset. This part of the bone of the foot is what rests directly under the talus. The talus is the bone that is the bone that's in the tibial notch, so to speak. Now, if I took this line from where this peninsula from the heel comes, and if I lined that up through the talus, through the middle of the tibia, through the middle of the knee, interestingly enough, that line from there is exactly there. Yeah? The shape of the leg has all these twists and turns and arches. For what reason? Strength, what else? All the different attachments, what else? Weight transfer, movement, yes. what kind of environment do we live in? And the gravity and the field that we live in, if we live in flat cities with stairs and things, but if you were living in the bush, you would have to have the ability to find support to yourself over varying surfaces and to transfer the force through, yes? So all these twists and turns, it's one of the reasons why they have to have 6 legs on the robots, right? It's very difficult for them to develop a 2-legged robot. Yeah, that's able to go through, because it's very difficult for them to create in the robot all of the infinite degrees of freedom in each of the joints relative to all the variable needs that we have for the force to transfer through. Yeah, okay. So I'm in this sense that I'm inside the middle of the leg, in the middle where not the front, not the back, in the middle, and it's the force is, the vector of the force is to go directly to the femoral head. And you can watch, it's only this is not me pushing on the person expecting change. This is inviting them to connect. Okay, all right. I think that's enough information to play with for a few moments. Yeah. The heel. I mean, I might be touching. I am not emphasizing the heel. I'm not using the thumb. There are other things that we do when we're giving lessons, but for just the pure movement, to organize myself so that I can make this very simple, clear line of force. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I mean, I have the foot's not flopping, and more or less the foot is in a position as if it's standing. Okay, more or less it's in a position as if it's standing. You notice I did not say it is in a neutral position. I don't use the word neutral in my work because I don't believe we're ever neutral. Yeah. Yeah, you put something under, you put a little roller underneath them. Yeah, if you really want to be delicate. So we've been playing with that whole movement. Did what? We lifted the inner edge of the foot. The ankle began to have a little bit of a twist. This tibial plateau. The fibula began to have a little bit of a lift up and through. This movement began to have a little spiraling movement. And when we make this movement, you can watch. As I spiral up and through this way, what happens to the direction the femoral head goes? It goes up and in, falling away. It comes up and in, doesn't it? Yeah? So there we have the support coming up and through. So if you wanted to, it's not, but if you wanted to, you could just put a little up and in. Just the tiniest little, hi, how are you? Welcome to the world kind of thing. All right, go play. Yeah, work in threes. If you'd like to work with a different group than you've worked, it's okay. But it's also